Today's episode is entitled Three Questions That You Must Ask Before Marriage. And we really believe if you can ask these questions, these will save you a whole lot of drama. Okay. Are you ready for these?
I'm ready.
The three questions that you must ask before you say I do. Now, these questions are set up because they will prevent the damage and the divorce. Now, here's the deal. 50% of people who get married end in divorce, but 100% who get married think it's going to last forever. Maybe not 100%. Some people get married and they got some demented stuff in their mind, whatever. But what I'm saying is that the majority of people who get married is like, this is till death does us part. There's no need to get married if you don't believe that. But half of them actually have a future that's coming that they don't see and they don't believe when they say I do. So how we enter into this covenant relationship and the questions that we ask is huge.
Yeah.
These are the three game changers here.
Okay.
Are you ready?
Let's go.
All right. Number one is, can you handle me changing?
Can you handle me changing?
Number two is, can you handle me not changing? And number three is, will you love me when you don't like me? Okay. And we're going to break down each one of these.
Okay.
So hold your horses.
Okay.
We're going to break down
I have questions.
You got questions about my question?
Yes. Well, because I understand number three, but like number one, tell me more.
Okay. All right. Can we break them down? Can you handle me changing? Okay. Now, here's the facts. The woman that I married at 23 is not the same woman at 33 and not the same woman at 43 and not the same woman at 53. Who you marry at 30 is not the same person that you're going to be with when they're 60. And my concern is that people marry an image more than they do a real person. Meaning that when we first got together, I married an image, your shape, your size, the needs that you met from me as a young man back then, not really taking in consideration the woman that you would become, how your figure would change, how you would change emotionally, spiritually, and also physically. And so the question is, can you handle me changing? Because it's just like Uncle Greg said, she's going to gain weight. That's not a profile over everybody. That's just saying she's going to change. Can your love go beyond the change that we both will endure?
Yeah. I think, to me, it's a very fair question. But in my mind, it's like, well, yes, of course I can handle you changing because I'm going to be changing. I hope it's change in the right direction.
Well, a lot of people have unreconcilable difference because they change this way. They change apart. They don't change together. And I think that's a whole nother podcast, because since we're all changing or we're all growing, how do we actually grow together?
Yes.
But I think that many times our focus is so much on ourselves and we don't think that person's changing. So we give ourselves grace. I'm going to change. But we really haven't taken into consideration. I'm going to just tell you, back when I was 19, 20 years old and I asked you to marry me, I didn't count the cost that you would change.
Yeah.
I had no clue. I wasn't that foresighted. I was very short-sighted.
Yeah, I think part of the change, change. There's change and there's growth. You know what I mean? Like, growth is change and change is growth. Yeah. But it's just like, there's so many things that I was when we were married that I am not now. You know what I mean? Because I've grown out of them. For example, I'm no longer depressed. I'm no longer bound by fear. I'm no longer, this kind of insecure person,
but
that
honestly,
I was.
That could have been what attracted me to you a little bit.
Right.
And even that, what you call growth, is still something that I would have to adapt to.
Right.
Because when we first got together, I was used to taking care of everything. I helped you get your credit score straight. I helped you learn to drive. I helped you learn about restaurants. I would take you to places
and
you never
may
been
have
on a
liked
plane.
doing that.
I might have liked doing that because I felt like I'm the man and I'm exposing you to the world and things you'd never seen before. But now you turn into this boss lady where you tell me what to do all the time. And if I can't handle that change, then I'm going to want to strangle you.
Come to find out, there was a boss in there the whole time.
I did not know that I signed up to be ran around.
That's not true. Things change. So like when we had kids, that's when a lot of things changed for us. So I had to be like, I couldn't do everything for you the way that I wanted to. So I had to be like, Ken, no, I need you to do this for me. And that's where the bossiness came in. Anyway.
But my question is still good.
Yeah.
Can you handle me changing? All right, now let's take it from the physical aspect. And So you meet you get married when you're in your 20s, and you like her because she has a belly button shirt on, and she wears a short skirt, and she has high heels all the time. And then later on, she realizes that that's not necessarily chastity, and so she don't put her belly button out there. Her belly button's been stretched by these 3 big head babies she pushed out, or high heels now hurt her feet, like they do tear your feet up, or like, wearing some, we used to call them Daisy Dukes. What they call them nowadays?
Daisy Dukes.
The little butt huggers.
I don't know. I call them hoochie mama shorts,
Okay.
and the girls get so mad at me when I say that.
So whatever that is, then you find out that's not appropriate. Now, if I can't handle you changing, and this is where some men have a midlife crisis. They want to leave their wife of 25 years and marry someone and go be someone who's 25 and 30, because they're living their life in the past because they just couldn't handle the person they married changing.
Yeah.
You understand the relevance of this? Can you handle me changing but still love me?
Yeah. And that's the thing. It sounds like you're a butthead if you say no to that. You know what I mean? But it's true, because it's those little things where you can start to despise people. If you don't really love them for who they are and what they bring to the table, besides, like what they look like, I mean, I fell in love with you not because you're unattractive to me. Like, you looked good. Like, I liked what you looked like. You know what I mean? I liked the way you dress, all of that. Now, if all of a sudden you change and you're not giving your best for me anymore, and now I don't like the way you dress, and your beard's down to your knees, and you don't brush your teeth, that's going to be hard to deal with. It's going to make me irritated by you.
It leads me to a question, then what do we do? Because that happens to some people. It happens. Some people, man, they tighten their stuff up, man. They go to the gym to get married. I mean, they be in Planet Fitness. I mean, they be hooking it up. Then they get married, 5-10 years go by, and it's like they just done gave up.
Yeah.
And so I think we need to do a podcast on the importance of keeping yourself attractive for your spouse.
For your spouse.
And also for you, But I think about a woman, let's make it, equal opportunity, who marries a guy because he has the six-pack, and he's so ambitious, and he's the life of the party. 20 years, 30 years into the marriage, he has a keg. And he, is a stay-home dad. Can you still love him?
Yeah.
Can you handle me?
The question is, because how do you know? Because these are the questions. The question is, so, in premarital, before you say I do, how do we know how can we predict? How can we tell what our spouse is going to do? Are they just going to let themselves go? Or are they going to keep up with themselves? I think there's some little hints and clues that we can find. So, for example, when we got married, I was athletic. You were athletic. I've been a runner my whole life. I would do, miles a week. And yes, I had babies, and I was also healthy. I was a vegetarian. I was an unhealthy vegetarian at the time, but I did care about my health. I like to cook for myself, and I like to just take care of my body. So that was part of the qualities. Like, those probably aren't going to go away.
Okay.
So I had babies. I gained 60 pounds with my first baby. 60 pounds.
And was eating nothing but oranges and vegetables. So she was not out at Krispy Kreme waiting for the light to come on here, people.
Okay. 60 pounds. I have the baby, I lose the weight, I never got back to where I was before, I had the baby, but I lost the weight. I got back in shape because that's just who I was in the first place. I wasn't the kind of person. So, like, if you're going to marry someone who doesn't exercise and they like to hit up the drive-through all the time, you can probably predict you're probably going to see that after a year, your youth, is going to leave at one point, and that metabolism is going to slow down. And if you don't take care of yourself now, you're probably not going to take care unless there's a major change.
I mean, I think that's a valid point. I mean, you're basically talking about trying to figure out the principles that this person lives by to forecast where they're going to go in the future.
You can tell a tree by its fruit.
However, I'm on the other side. I'm like, your love has to be deep enough to be unconditional.
True.
And I know that that's the part that we want. But the truth is if I did have a beard and I did have a beer belly and I did gain 100 pounds, you said this was for rich or poor, sickness or health till death does us part. And I think that sometimes we don't really think about the poor season or the sick season or the overweight season or the challenge season, and our love is not unconditional. I love you as long as you do this. And so I think what you're saying is 100% right.
Yeah.
I think what you're saying is 100% right, that we should try our best to be the best we can be. But at the same time, I think that love should cover a multitude of sins, weaknesses,
Absolutely.
shortcomings, all of that stuff. And sometimes when I look at the couples who've made it, somehow their love has blinded them to the person. You know what I'm saying? If I look at a 90-year-old man with an 88-year-old wife, and they just barely walking, barely making it, I'm thinking that their love has overcome the frailty,
so many things,
their body changing, dysfunctions, whatever have you.
Yes.
Their love was
Yes.
deeper. And I don't know. I just feel like people nowadays might not get married with that kind of love. And so the question is, can you handle me changing?
Yeah, answer the questions up front.
Question number 2 is, can you handle me not changing? What we found in marriage is that many times we want to change our spouse into ourselves. Even if on the conscious level, you're like, no, I don't want to do that. On the subconscious level, you kind of want them to be you. I think many people get disappointed. Let's use an example of a married woman who gets disappointed because he can't keep a job for a long time. But he was like that before you married him.
I got you. Yeah.
Or the guy's playing video games all day, but he was always playing video games
Right.
before you married him. It seems like you do everything,
Yeah.
but before you got married, you was always doing everything.
I got you.
And now you're upset because he's not changing. And so, but the question is, can you handle me not changing? So no matter who we decide leans to that more, whether it's me or you, we subconsciously really try to change our spouse into something. We try to train them into something. And I understand, because we want the two to be one and walk in unison just like any team or company. But the question is, can you handle me not changing? Can you handle that? That's a question that
Right.
you need to ask somebody. Can you handle me not changing? Because of the subconscious pressure of trying to change somebody into something that they're not.
I mean, I get it. And it's not only, we don't only ask the other person, but we ask ourselves, can we handle them not changing? You have to be a fruit inspector, that you know a tree by its fruit. With finances, with whether they're on time or not, with what kind of food they eat and their eating habits and their lifestyle habits, what friends do they hang around? These are all, if they don't change their circle of friends, are you still going to love them? Can you still be with them for the rest of their lives?
Right. And so I don't know. I just feel like we talk to a lot of married people, and I feel like, let's just talk about wives. I know some wives that are trying to change their husbands into something that they will never change into, never want to be, never even thought they needed to be before they got married. And the marriage sucks because the wife is trying to change the husband into something that he can't change into. Vice versa. You know, there's guys that's trying to change their wife into something that she is just not. So the question is valid.
It's a good question. And I find, this is just through my experience in pastoring over many, many years, either the wife or the husband who has the problem is usually, they're the more ambitious one. They're the one that wants to start businesses and, run companies and take over the world. They want to do do ministry and everything and take over the world. But their spouse is like, I'm good. If it's the wife, she's like, look, I got these kids. I'm taking care of these kids. I'm good staying at home. I'm good doing this. I'm good making dinner, whatever. Or the husband's like, look, I got this job. It pays our benefits. It pays our lights. Like, I'm good with this. I like having time on the weekend to sit down and watch the football games and take my children to their basketball games. Like, I don't want to take over the world. But the person who does want to take over the world, they look down like, they don't do this and that, and they're not an influencer, and they don't, that's not fair. That's not fair.
Well, now you're speaking from straight up experience. And as you're talking, I had several wives go through my head. Some of them are still married. Some of them are divorced now. And it's almost like we project this thing on men. Well, you got to be the leader. You got to be the leader. And you got to be the leader. And that is true. But how he leads might be different than how you would lead, how another husband is leading. And if you are projecting expectations on him that he cannot meet because that's not his personality or his gifting, we got to figure out how he can lead, but out of his gift, out of his wheelhouse, out of his gift set. And that's a big one. It's a big one. There's
but
some
as a
ambitious
wife,
person.
Yeah, as a wife, we have the grace to find out and to lift up the gift of God and the call of God that's on the inside of our spouse. Like, that's what we do.
Yeah. And well, some of us just celebrate what he is.
Yeah.
Because sometimes you can camp out on what he ain't or what she ain't. But celebrate what he is.
Absolutely.
He's faithful. He's at home. He can cook. He takes care of the kids. Okay, so he's not making $500,000 a year. If that's what you want to do, you make $500,000
exactly.
a year. And you know what I'm saying? It's almost like
you don't have to make more money to be the leader.
Right.
Being the leader is a spiritual thing, something ordained by God.
And I do feel like there is a lot of men who do not know how to lead their homes
I agree.
well. And a lot of it's because we've never had leadership in front of us
Never
before.
had an example.
Never had an example. And leadership skills, many times we think we're born with them, but they have to be developed. They have to be cultivated. They have to be learned. And there's no like school of being a husband or school of being a father. But let's get to the third one. This is the third question I feel like you got to ask before marriage. And it is, will you love me when you don't like me? Okay. I think in life you're going to have rifts. It's just life. So I think we need to normalize that and ask the question. Here's the question up front. But can you love me when you don't like me?
Yeah.
And I didn't say, can you love me if you don't like me? Because that means like if, when you don't like me. There's going to come a place when you don't like something I said, something I did.
Right.
Can you still love me? This question really makes me think of the infatuation stage of relationships. And I think the infatuation stage statistically is the first 3 months to 3 years, they say. And that's when endorphins are high and you have butterfly feelings in your stomach off the newness of a relationship. But I think we get stuck in that stage. And then we compare the rest of our relationship to that stage. We actually idolize the infatuation stage, but the infatuation stage is only a stage. And then we compare our spouse or even God sometimes to how things was in the beginning. Like when I first got filled with the Holy Spirit, it's like I heard the voice of God and I prayed and got answers. 20 years in, I just don't feel that same way any longer. It's because now you're supposed to be grown in your relationship.
Yeah.
That was the infatuation stage. Same with in a marriage relationship. When we first got together, you could do no wrong. Like touch me, breathe on me, whatever the kids don't like, do it all. I just wanted to be in your presence. But I make a mistake if I, now 24 years into this marriage, always judge the infatuation stage as our highlights when it was only a stage. And so the truth is that as we continue on this journey, there's going to be stages. And there's going to be stages of your cycle. There's going to be stages we don't feel good. There's going to be stages where maybe we made an investment that went awry, but can you love me when you don't like me? Can you love me when you don't like me? I'm happy to say that we're best friends. I do love you, and I don't just love you, but I also like you. I believe that, liking is a very important part of our relationship. I mean, I don't want to undermine it. Like, love is huge. Like, everything we do, it's the agape love of God, 1 Corinthians 13. It's patient, it's kind, it's long-suffering, it doesn't keep an account of evil, et cetera, et cetera. But I don't know. I think it's important that we also like each other.
Yeah.
And if you fall out of like, I think you can do some things to start to fall back into like.
Yeah.
And sometimes liking is a first step to loving. Just like loving is a first step to liking. I choose to love you. And then because I choose to love you, I'm going to figure out a way to like you. That doesn't mean I like everything you do. That doesn't mean I like all of your idiosyncrasies. That just means that my love covers all those.
Yep.
But at the same time, I'm going to choose to like you. You've taken my last name. You're my best friend. We've built businesses together. We've built ministry together. You've cared for me when I haven't felt good. I've cared for you when you haven't felt good. And if we can't be mature enough to find out our like inside of the love, I think we need to go back to the drawing board and start to date again and start to be fascinated with each other again. And, I was holding you the other day and I could smell your smell and I could feel your skin. I did have a little butterfly, a little infatuation stage butterfly, because I was so intentional of focusing on my care for you. And I think that the infatuation stage might could get drug out a little bit longer with some intentionality.
Yeah.
I don't know anything else on that. I feel like I'm kind of done.
I love what you just said. Just like rekindling that fire, sometimes, and it does take intentionality. I think after, 24 years of marriage, sometimes we just accidentally there's a spark in a blaze and it's like, whoa, what's that? And you and I both feel the butterflies. It might be like on vacation at the beach or, just somewhere. It's just like, it might be an old song that we listen to. And, it's just.
Right.
Marriage is good. But I do want to say this because this is what to do before you get married. And I think in order to kind of safeguard yourself from, I guess you talked about that butterfly feeling. And I think the easiest thing to do is to not have sex before you're married. Because I think once you have sex, and I'll speak for a woman, once you have sex, I mean, you just emotionally, it's there. You know what I mean? Like, you're going to overlook a whole lot of stuff because you are emotionally connected to this guy. And so he could be cheating on you. He could be like the worst, but that connection that you have and how you've opened yourself up to him, how you've given yourself to him, it's kind of like you just overlook a whole lot of stuff. And when you get married, you figure out, I don't even like him. We don't like the same food. We don't even like to do that. Don't do that.
Yeah.
And it's never too late to say, okay, yeah, we are in a sexual relationship right now, but let's cut it out. Let's figure out, do we for the rest of our lives?
Come on, so good. And so write down this takeaway if you can, guys. All right, here's the 3 questions. All right, this is what you ask. Can you handle me changing? Okay. Can you handle me not changing? Can you love me when you don't like me? And I believe that would save somebody a bunch of heartache. Okay.